Let's take a closer look at the various QRT Max belts before we address the actual boarding and securing procedure. The QRT Max retractors secure the wheelchair to the vehicle. Each securement belt is around a spool that is automatic self-tensioning and automatic self-locking to ensure the wheelchair is always secure. The automatic feature continues to take up any slack in the belt and locks the belt with appropriate tension. There is a pin connector on each retractor. This is for attaching the lap belts. The securement belts run from the anchored retractor to a solid frame member of the wheelchair where they are attached by their J-hooks. Some wheelchairs have defined anchorage points. When these are present, they should be used. The QRT Max has a protective chrome cover. It is automatic self-tensioning, self-locking, and does not require hand tightening. The red release lever is only used when removing the QRT Max. The QRT Max can be installed with one hand. Once the chair is secured to the vehicle, the lap and shoulder belts work like a traditional seatbelt system to keep the passenger safely in the chair should the vehicle stop suddenly or experience an impact. Other lap-shoulder belt combinations will follow. The webbing of the lap belts is stiffened to assist in threading them around the passenger and through the chair. One end of each belt attaches to pin connectors on the rear retractors. The other ends form a traditional seatbelt buckle. The buckle with a release button should always be on the aisle side of the passenger. The shoulder belt attaches to the wall anchor, passes over the passenger's shoulder, and then clips onto the pin connector next to the lap belt buckle. The webbing loop comes into play in situations where the design of the wheelchair does not permit the direct attachment of a J-hook. In such cases, a webbing loop can be threaded around a rigid frame member to provide an attachment point for the hook. The loop is strongest when used in this manner. The loop is tested and meets SAE J2249. Please pause the tape. Let's secure a wheelchair. There are 3 steps to safely secure the wheelchair and passenger. Attaching the retractors to the floor anchorages. Securing the chair with the securement belts and J-hooks. Securing the passenger safely in the wheelchair with the lap and shoulder belts. There are many models of wheelchairs, hundreds. We will be using several different types throughout this demonstration. Board the wheelchair and passenger onto your vehicle. Position the wheelchair so it is facing straight forward and it is centered squarely within the rectangle formed by the 4 anchor points. Lock the wheel locks and, if motorized, turn the power off. While you're doing this, inspect the wheelchair to locate appropriate attachment points for the J-hooks. They should be on rigid frame members. Here are some examples. Notice that these are welded frame members. Ideally, the attachment points should be close to the level of the seat. Attach the 4 Q-Straint QRT Max retractors to the anchor points on the vehicle using the installed anchor system. This can be done in any order that's convenient. Note, on some applications, the retractors may be permanently attached to seat frames, barriers, or other devices. For lateral stability, the front securements should be attached outside or wider than the width of the chair and will angle slightly outward, up to 25 degrees, to reach the chair frame. The vertical angle of the front tie-downs from the J-hook to the anchor should be between 40 and 60 degrees. The rear retractors are positioned inside or narrower than the wheels on most chairs. For maximum safety, the rear straps should make a 30 to 45 degree angle with the floor. As each retractor is installed, ensure that it is securely attached to the anchor point by checking the positive locking indicators. Pull the belt out from each retractor and place its J-hook on the selected attachment point of the chair. The QRT Max will automatically self-tighten and self-lock. It is normal for 3 to 4 inches of the belt to extend from the retractor when locked in its shortest position. For three-wheel scooters, use a third rear securement belt or retractor in the center as shown. For some wheelchairs, we recommend the use of 4 rear securements. If there is any difficulty in attaching any J-hook to an appropriate rigid frame member, a Q-Restraint webbing loop may be used to facilitate the attachment. Once all the securements are attached, unlock the wheel locks and try to move the chair. The automatic self-tensioning, self-locking QRT Max will take up any remaining slack throughout the trip. Then relock the wheel locks. Remember that securement belts should never pass through the wheels, and that each belt should follow a straight path from its retractor to its J-hook without bending around any part of the chair, such as wheels, footrest, etc. At this point, you've achieved your first 2 objectives. The retractors are secured to the vehicle, and the wheelchair is secured with the securement belts. Please pause the tape. Now, let's secure the passenger. This process may involve some necessary minor physical contact with the passenger, so always tell the passenger what you are doing and ask for any assistance that the passenger is able to or wants to provide. Begin by attaching the appropriate end of the shoulder belt to the anchor point on the wall of the vehicle if it is not permanently attached. This point should be slightly higher than and behind the passenger's shoulder. The lap belt can be installed as one piece attached at the buckle or as 2 pieces. The lap belt has been stiffened to facilitate threading it around the passenger and between parts of the chair, such as the seat and the arms or the arms and the back. The lap belt should never go over or around the armrests, side panels, or any other object that would hold the belt away from the body of the passenger. Install the lap belt so the buckle and its release button are on the aisle side of the passenger. After threading the 2 ends of the lap belt around the passenger and through the openings in the chair, attach them to the pin connectors on the rear retractors. If installed as 2 pieces, buckle the belt around the passenger. The belt should bear upon the bony structure of the body and should be worn low across the front of the pelvis. Remove the slack from the belt. Now, bring the shoulder belt over the center of the passenger's shoulder and attach it to the pin on the lap belt buckle. This junction of the lap shoulder belts should be located near the passenger's hip. Tighten the shoulder belt, leaving a gap about 2 fingers wide between the passenger's chest and the belt, consistent with user comfort. Note that some adjustment may be necessary to ensure that the shoulder belt does not cut across the passenger's neck. This is especially important if the passenger has had a tracheotomy. In some cases, you may be able to solve the problem by adjusting the height of the shoulder belt. At this point, we have achieved our 3rd goal, to secure the passenger, and we are ready for our trip.